Confidence didn't come from finishing a marathon. It came from the random Tuesday morning when nobody was watching. Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about why confidence starts with keeping promises to yourself. Now, before I dive into today's episode, I like to go over anything in my life that I think that you may find impactful, interesting, unique when it comes to fitness, when it comes to nutrition. Kicking off today's show, I had a nice daddy-daughter date with our daughter last night, I should say, not last week, and it was at Chick-fil-A. I don't get fast food too often, nor do I recommend getting it too often, but I do enjoy getting Chick-fil-A once every couple of months, so enjoyed that time out. My daughter, and this is for the dads out there, whether you have a son, whether you have a daughter, I always try to find time at least once a month to once every other month for just me having that one-on-one time with my daughter, whether that's taking her out for a few hours, whether that's grabbing lunch, whatever it may be. It's just doing something where it's just her and I and continuing to build that relationship with her. Now, a little bit more on the fitness side, and it was something that I was talking to my wife about, and I always find that it's interesting. I think it's all relative at the end of the day. So the way that I structure my runs is I typically go about 5 miles 4 days a week, and I go 8 miles one day a week. On Thursdays, on top of my 5 miles, I typically run 2 miles on the treadmill, just a nice, slow, easy recovery run. So today I was doing an 8 mile run, and sometimes I'm doing 5 miles, and it feels as though it's just taken forever to finish those 5 miles. And then it's relative because today when I'm running an 8 mile run and I'm out there, being able to once I hit those 5 miles on the 8 mile run, I'm like, wow, that was easy. Like that felt rather quickly. So I think it's all relative in our mind where we make up these stories of what's long, what's short, what's hard or not, until we actually put in the work. Or for me right now, running 15 miles, that might be difficult because again, it's all relative. Where if I ran 15 miles today, 8 miles wouldn't feel like anything at all. And it's just a concept that I have to learn when it comes to working out, when it comes to running, that it's not comparing myself to anyone else. It's not comparing myself to what I see online. It's just comparing myself to who I was yesterday and how I'm pushing myself when I'm going out there. Now, towards the end of my run, and this isn't to harp on anyone, but there was someone else running. I don't see too many people running where I run this time of year, but this individual, I've seen them out running a few times, and you can tell they're getting into it. They do more of a walk run cycle. No issues with that. They walk a little bit, they run a little bit. No problems with that. What I ran into today is I was about maybe 15 yards from my house, so I was rather quickly. They're like 10 yards in front of me. They pull up now from running to walk. It was kind of awkward because if I kept running, I would have just cut right in front of them to pull into my house. So I ended up just stopping my watch and taking a minute or however long it took them to walk, and then finished off my 10 yards of running. But I haven't literally ran into that issue too many times before. And again, not to harp on anyone that's out there that's putting in the work, but that's just something that I ran into, and I find, I don't know what it is about the competitiveness, but if I'm out there on a run and I see someone that's like a mile ahead of me, half a mile ahead of me, I want to, especially when I'm at the end of my run, I want to hunt them down. I want to pass them. I'm not sure where it comes from. It's just a competitive edge, but this particular individual, they were about a half a mile ahead of me when I had 1 mile to go, and just it makes me go a little bit faster. I think that's why I enjoy racing. I ended up signing up for a half marathon coming up here in a couple months. I've done a couple of half marathons already, but I always enjoy doing them. I always enjoy having something training to look forward to. I found with the full marathons, there's just a little bit more training than what I had wanted to do because I enjoy going to the gym. First and foremost, I enjoy strength training, where when you're training for a marathon, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to do that. Now, diving into today's episode, which again is why confidence starts with keeping promises to yourself. Confidence isn't built from motivation, it's built from evidence. Did you do what you say you were going to do? Did you go on the early morning run? Did you go in that workout or do that workout even when you didn't feel like doing it? Because that's proof that you can trust yourself. Last Friday, or I guess, yeah, technically it was last Friday. I, as I mentioned before in previous episodes, volunteer with our local volunteer ambulance on Thursdays. First call came in, sound asleep 11:30 at night, so I was out from 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Got back at 1 a.m. Got undressed, got into bed. Pager goes off 1:20. Out of bed, out 3:30 hits. So now I'm not an idiot. I've experienced where in the past I've gone to bed at 1 or 2 and gotten up at 4:50. It has been great. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that, but I did not want to skip my workout. So what I ended up doing my run at a normal time of day, and then I ended up going off and doing my workout at the end of the day, at the end of the workday, where typically I would do it first. That's when I'm getting up at 4:50, and then I'm going off and doing my run between 8 and 9 a.m., but just switching it up a little bit. Where I did my run between 8 and 9 a.m. because I needed that little bit of extra sleep, because if I was going to bed, I mean, I was getting home at 3:30. It wasn't necessarily like I was falling asleep at 3:30. You've just been at the hospital. You've been in a situation. It's hard to go to sleep right away. I know that if I fell asleep at 4:15ish, which is what I did, and I get up 30 minutes later, I've only slept 2 hours on the back end from 9:30 to 11:30. And then to get another 30 minutes, it wasn't going to be a good day. At least if I get 2 hours on the back end, I get about 3-ish hours on the front end with a nice 4-hour gap in between. I can get that workout done, and I just made sure I get it done. I did not want to go to the gym. I wasn't really feeling the run, but again, I just do it anyways, because as dads, athletes, and even business owners, the biggest promise we keep isn't to others, but it's to who we said we'd become. Who are you when no one's looking? Who are you when no one's paying attention to you, when you have to get up, when you have to eat healthy, when you have to go on your run? Just no one's forcing my hand to go off and get an 8-mile run, or to go out when it's raining, when it's windy, when it's cold, when I have the comfort of my house, or when I'm getting up in the morning. I'm getting up early in the morning. I'm getting to the gym in the dark and the cold. No one's forcing my hand. No one's forcing me to eat good, high quality meals every day. If it was up to me and I lack the discipline, I would want Chick-fil-A every day. Tastes phenomenal. But I know that if I have rice, if I have mixed vegetables, and I have chicken breasts every single day for lunch during the week, I have eggs in the morning, I have a nice high quality protein meal at dinner, whether today's Tuesday, we make tacos, so nice ground beef. On that, I'll make chicken, I'll make steak throughout the week. No one's forcing me to do that, but that's a promise that I've made to myself. Now, most people think that confidence comes after success. But the reality is that confidence comes from stacking small wins. It's showing up tired, it's running in the cold, it's lifting when motivation is low. Everything that I just talked about. I don't want to go to the gym when getting 2 hours of sleep and then a 4-hour gap and then 2 hours and 45 minutes of sleep. I want to help others, so I have to keep my word to myself. I don't want to run in the cold. I freeze. Just said my legs were freaking freezing when I came back for my run. I had the wind in my back, which was fine, felt great. From the back of my legs, my hamstrings, they were absolutely cold. Or lifting. Some days I don't feel like going to the gym, but I continue to get up. I get to it and I show up whether I feel like it or not. Because at the end of the day, my daughter, she isn't watching my results. She's watching my consistency. Now I want to talk about the power of keeping small promises. This is all about, let's say you're going to get up at 5 a.m., start going to the gym. Do it. You plan on going for an 8-round run? Do it. You want to start eating healthier? Do it. Even when nobody's watching you and when nobody is tracking you. Because self-trust compounds like interest. When you keep the promises to yourself, you start to build that quiet confidence where if you start missing promises you made to yourself, you start to build up that internal doubt, you start to give in to that resistance, and it's going to be so much more tempting next time to not go to the gym, to not eat healthy, and to not go on that run. Because confidence isn't loud, it's calm. Now, as someone that enjoys doing cardio, endurance training, and strength training, you have to have this confidence and you have to keep these promises to yourself, especially when I'm training for races as a father. I don't want to let my family down. I don't want to let my daughter down. I don't want my wife down. I don't want to let myself down. So I have to go out there and train for these races. When it comes to strength training, I get my early morning workouts done. So I'm back before my daughter wakes up. I don't enjoy waking up early in the morning, but it's a sacrifice that I make to make sure that I'm back in time when my daughter gets up. It's all about finding that balance between discipline and flexibility because you don't need perfect weeks. Just your confidence grows from showing up imperfectly. My wife, she wasn't feeling too great on Sunday. Sunday night, she, for lack of a better term, had the stomach bug, wasn't feeling great. Monday rolls around, and I end up staying home and not going to the gym on Monday morning because of my wife, of running into the issue of her being sick and me having to be a father and take care of our daughter. So I wasn't able to go to the gym on Monday, but was still able to get my run in a little bit later in the day while our daughter was at daycare. So not every week is going to be perfect. Excuse me, I can feel that sneeze coming on. Now, some weeks right now we're going to the OBGYN, making sure everything's okay with our daughter, where sometimes the appointments might be a little bit longer, and it makes training a little bit more difficult, especially with the appointments in the morning. Maybe I have to run a little bit more on the treadmill that week just to get it done a little bit earlier in the day. Because again, not every week is going to be perfect, but this confidence that you have is going to continue to grow when you show up imperfectly. Now, as a father, how can you start building confidence today? Just start with the non-negotiables. Just start with one non-negotiable. It doesn't have to be many. It could be going to the gym. It could be a 1 mile run. It could be hitting your protein goals. And just track it daily. Okay, did I go to the gym today? And this isn't to say you have to go to the gym every single day. You want to run every single day. I highly recommend hitting your protein goals every single day, whether it's the weekend or it's the week. But okay, I have the goal to go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have a goal to run 3 miles 3 times this week. Okay, just start tracking it. How did I do the week? And just make it a non-negotiable no matter what happens. Again, unless there's something very outside of my circumstance that I can't control, my wife being sick, I'm going to hold myself to the standard and I'm going to have these non-negotiables. Now, when it comes for my daughter, she might never care about the marathons I run or the strength training that I do, but she's going to learn discipline, she's going to learn integrity, and she's going to learn showing up when it's hard. Because confidence isn't something I teach her with words, it's something she watches me build every morning. Now, as we end today's episode, what promises are you keeping to yourself this week? I don't want you to give up on your goals. I don't want you to punt on something because it's hard. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Sounds cliche, but couldn't be couldn't be couldn't be any more truth to that comment. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on why confidence starts with keeping promises to yourself, and I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss letting go of the old you while building the next version.